Hello MBA 603. I am posting a video about the trial balance, your assignment for week 2. Um, I'll try to do this on a weekly basis. I think this will be a help as long as you don't laugh at the poor lighting and quality of the film, so to speak. But I wanted to touch base with you about the trial balance, just to give you guys some pointers. And going forward, so week 3. My goal is to have a video up about the income assignment and the depreciation assignment by about Tuesday evening or so. I'm going to hold off and use the computer back in my office when I'm back there next week. But again, I want to talk to you about the trial balance. Couple things to note about the trial balance. It is not a draft of the balance sheet. Okay, balance sheet, as we'll see later, and some of you probably already know, it's going to contain assets, liabilities, and ownership equity. Okay, the trial balance, on the other hand, just looks to list and total all of the accounts from the general ledger, which is generally a company's accounting system. Okay, and the only thing we look for in a trial balance, or not the only thing, but one of the limitations is that we want to make sure that its debits and its credits match up. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if a debit is wrong and the corresponding credit is also wrong, the trial balance isn't going to pick that up. Okay, trial balance is going to show that debits and credits match, and then once we have that, you'll see that we can use the trial balance as well as the cash budget that we'll also talk about in later weeks to go ahead and then create those financial statements, such as the income statement, balance sheet, and then to a lesser extent the statement of cash flows, which we won't deal with too much in this class. Okay, so let's talk about what is in the trial balance. Okay, we've got obviously the debits and credits, but which are the debits? Okay, well, debits for this case are going to be expenses, assets. Okay, and those are going to be the two big debits. On the credit side, okay, we're going to have liabilities, income, and equity. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, here's the thing: don't get confused, because we've kind of got all these different accounts. And if you're familiar with the balance sheet, you know that there's no spot in the balance sheet for expenses and for revenue. Okay, and revenue would also be is also going to be a credit. Okay, so we've got no spot in there. Okay, and in the income statement, there's no spot for assets. Okay, so don't let that confuse you or throw you. Okay, think of it this way: if we have an expense, okay, so let's say we've got a well, your assignment just lists them as expenses, $19,000. So that's a pretty big expense for a small company. Let's say it is, it's a utility expense. January was nice and cold. Let's say it was a $19,000 heating bill. Okay, that is going to be a debit. And you might think, well, I don't understand that because money's coming out. Okay, but keep the income statement and the trial balance separate. Okay, you're going to have that expense. It's going to be a debit, but on the credit side, there would be a corresponding liability. Okay, if you didn't pay it. Okay, now it might not be a perfect match. Okay, the things will come out in the wash when we total it down. But that's why we would consider an expense a debit. Okay, and if we look at revenues, okay, you might say, why would a revenue be a credit? That doesn't make sense. That means I've got money in my pocket. Well, that's true. Okay, but if I've got a revenue credit, the corresponding debit would be an asset. It would be cash if we held on to it. Okay, but as we know, it's not going to be a perfect match. Okay, that might only be part of the match, so to speak. Okay, so keep that in mind. Other things. So the only thing, when you do your assignment, the only thing that we're looking at is to make sure that our debits and our credits match up. Okay, so again, we've got debits, assets, and expenses. We've got credits, liability, income, and equity. Okay, and common stock there, where you see it on your assignment for $22,000, that would be considered equity. Okay, and you can go ahead. I mean, I'm hoping that after you've listened to this about 5-minute video, that definitely cuts down on the amount of time that you have to use to complete this assignment. So we're just one side of the paper are going to be our debits, the other side are going to be our credits. Okay. Don't forget to read the article. But for the most part, if we can tackle this, I hope that this will be a fairly light week for you guys. Week 3, we'll talk about the income statement. Week 4, we'll have another assignment and some additional concepts. I believe we talk about the balance sheet and the cash budget. And then weeks 5 through 8, we really talk about applying those to case studies, things like that. So my hope is, as much as you can enjoy accounting, that you will that you'll enjoy the case analyses in weeks 5 through 8. But we've got to build the foundation to understand exactly what we're looking at. So, as always, if you have questions, shoot me an email or give me a call. My office number is 815-928-5452. I am in and out just because of teaching classes, but my email goes right to my cell phone, and then you can catch me on my cell phone, 815-295-3994. And this is Friday. So have a great weekend, and looking forward to seeing some more great discussion board posts. Thanks, guys.